Sustainability has arguably never been more of a focus than today. And whilst with COP26 in the rearview mirror, many people are looking at cars more from an emissions point of view, manufacturing has a key part in improving a footprint. My name's Alex West. I am the Senior Principal Analyst in Omdia's Manufacturing Technology Group. And today I want to look at how the automotive industry can move forward in terms of sustainability initiatives and also how digital transformation is going to enable that. When we look at car emissions, we see that they've dropped since 2010 by about 22%. But in comparison, the amount of energy needed to produce or manufacture a car in the EU from 2005, so in the last 15 years, has only gone down by about 6%. So some big challenges around the automotive industry's manufacturing footprint. Some eye-watering statistics here. The amount of energy used in automotive production is almost equivalent to the entire UK's electricity consumption. When we look at materials, the industry consumes over 80 million tonnes of steel last year, and every tonne of steel emits, in terms of its production, nearly 2 tonnes of carbon dioxide. So that means around 150 million tonnes of carbon dioxide produced by the automotive industry from steel alone. When we consider water, it's estimated the average car requires about 40,000 gallons of water to be produced. Correlate that to in the US, where factories are emitting over 1 trillion gallons of untreated water and sewage into water every year. And finally, when we look at manufacturing and industrial as a whole, over half of all pollution is directly as a result of industrial pollution. Now, a lot of companies have made commitments around improving their environmental footprint, and this is across a range of areas. We touched on some of the issues. It's companies deciding to go water positive. It's companies looking at initiatives around reducing their consumption of materials. But probably the most significant focus is that around emissions. We did an analysis of the top 50 manufacturing companies and the different types of commitments they're making. And when it comes to climate change emissions, there's really 3 primary targets that companies look at. That's RE100, which is moving to 100% renewable energy; carbon neutral, which is companies' commitments to going carbon neutral by a certain time; and then also SBT, which is science-based targets around reductions in greenhouse gases. And this, at the moment, primarily focuses on direct emissions, but in the future that will extend to indirect emissions as well. And as you can see, in terms of commitments, many companies have made commitments to meet science-based targets by 2030. A number of other companies in terms of overall commitments out to 2050. And just to highlight here that many companies actually have in place multiple different commitments in place. But it's interesting to consider, how does that compare to the automotive industry? And when we look at the automotive industry, we do see a little bit of a difference in terms of timelines, with many of the commitments made by automotive manufacturers sitting a lot further out with 2050 targets rather than earlier targets. Now, the real challenge for industry as a whole here, not just the automotive industry, is really the need not to be greenwashing, making commitments without a lot of work in between. One of the common phrases in COP26 was that 2050 is just around the corner. And really, companies looking to make significant changes to their carbon footprint require changes now to their processes, really need to be investing now in making changes. And whilst we see a lot of announcements being raised and made, the real key is actual activity, not just commitments.